Austrian Grand Prix only on ITV. Formula One fans have waited 10 years for this, since Nigel Mansell's victory here back in 1987. Louise Goodman and James Allen are in the pits. Martin Brundle's alongside Murray Walker.
And we haven't had a more exciting race in prospect for a very long time. Back in Austria after 10 years, as you've heard, on a track which has been largely rebuilt, so it's new to everybody. And what an incredible grid situation. Jacques Villeneuve, the man who's second in the World Championship, in his 8th pole position. Mika Häkkinen alongside him has never won a Grand Prix and desperately wants to. Jarno Trulli, the new boy, 3rd on the grid. The two Stewarts, the best they've done was that superb 2nd place for Rubens Barrichello in Monaco, but mostly they've had a lot of retirements, and here they are both, Barrichello and Jan Magnussen, on row 3 of the grid. A tremendously exciting race in prospect, not only from the point of view of drivers, cars and engines, but as ever, tyres. We hear a lot about tyres these days. You're going to hear a lot about them in this race, and they could well decide it, whether the Bridgestone runners or the Goodyear runners come out on top. Goodyear have so far this year all the time, but there could be a change here because the conditions are suiting the Bridgestone runners. They've been looking for hot temperatures, ideally a temperature as hot as yesterday, where the track temperature was about 35 degrees. Well, here it's about 32.5 degrees now, not very far off. So, tremendously exciting. How do you see it, Martin?
Well, I think you've pretty much summed it up so far, Murray. And remember here, 10 years ago, the last time we had a Grand Prix, there were 3 starts, and this race proper started 100 minutes late because it's very, very narrow here in the pit straight. In fact, sitting on the pit wall is rather strange. You're staring into the eyes of the big grandstand opposite, and it is particularly narrow. In fact, I caused the first accident back here in 87 when suspension broke on my Zach speed, and then Nigel Mansell got away slowly, and Cheever and Johansson got together, and we all creamed into the back of that. So lots of action then, and I'm expecting some more action today as they head off towards that first corner, because there's people down in the back end of the top 10 like Michael Schumacher who need to get well into the points, and they'll be trying to make all of the space they can in that first few 100 meters, because that's the easiest place to overtake. And then over and above that, you've got Villeneuve needing to catch those 10 points up, sitting on pole position. Häkkinen needing the first win, as you said. And just to add to it all, you've got Trulli and Magnussen in a position on the grid they're just not used to. It'll be new territory for them. Be interesting to see how they handle that pressure. Apparently, Trulli looked somewhat nervous as he was going around on the parade lap with the drivers, studying some facts and figures, looked very, very much under pressure, which of course he is, because he's 3rd on the grid and all eyes are on him.
I'll be glad when that chap in the Saab Viken fighter that we've just been seeing finally goes home. He's been nearly blowing us out of the circuit all day long. 2 of the drivers, incidentally, who are unaccustomedly low down on the grid are Jean Lacey and his teammate Gerhard Berger, the hero Gerhard Berger of Austria. They're down in 15th and 18th places on the grid. You're looking at the eyes, incidentally, of Jarno Trulli. And if you see a likeness to the great Ayrton Senna there, you are not the only one. Alain Prost is his boss, 4 times world champion. He's standing alongside the young Italian at the present moment. This is going to be a 71-lap race. How many stops are there going to be? I don't know, but we're expecting most of the drivers to stop once, some of them twice. There are 4 drivers on soft compound tyres from the Goodyear mark in this race, and they are the 2 Sauber drivers, Johnny Herbert and Gianni Morbidelli. Jos Verstappen, who is the Tyrrell driver, and Eddie Irvine, Michael Schumacher's teammate. And that's Eddie Irvine's car to the right. So Michael Schumacher is starting behind his teammate for the 2nd time this year.
And it's now that the grid begins to clear and finally it all looks normal. Up to that point, it looks incredibly crowded as you're sitting in your car. And finally, they turf off the final mechanics and engineers, and the track opens up in front of you. Now, you have to be very careful not to stall the engine there, otherwise you have to start at the back of the field. Everybody looks as if they've got away cleanly, and moving into single file now for that formation lap. Villeneuve's the pole position man. He dictates the pace of that lap.
So now they come out of turn one and climb up towards turn two, doing about 190 miles an hour when they're up to race speed before they back off into second gear, 45 miles an hour. This is the highest part of the track. Look at that magnificent scenery in the background. They run alongside what was the old circuit from now down to what was the fabled Bosch curve and is now the Gerser curve and has been completely replanned. It's similar in outline to the old one. Downhill, this is it, turn 3, second gear, 65 miles an hour. Back onto the old track now as we join Michael Schumacher, who incidentally has done 3 investigation laps before he formed up on the grid. He's in the lightweight car, having used the heavier weight car for most of the practice periods. Now we're with Mika Häkkinen, who is second on the grid. They're out of the Lauda curve, round the Power Horse curve, climbing again to the corner which is named after Austria's first world champion, 1972, Jochen Rindt. And he's coming up to it now. You can see they're climbing, enormous grandstand in the background. Villeneuve, Häkkinen, Trulli.
Now Villeneuve will try to back up the runners now. He'll slow down, he wants them all as close to him as possible. That means he sits for less time at the front of the grid waiting for them all to form up. Should be 30 seconds, often takes 40 to 45 seconds, but Villeneuve really needs to back them all up. He's done that reasonably successfully.
And that corner in the background, very difficult indeed. A downhill right-hander, about 90 miles an hour, and a lot of people, including Damon Hill and Michael Schumacher, have gone off there in the practice periods. So now this is the critical time. Villeneuve in pole position alongside him, Mika Häkkinen. Into the pit lane comes the Benetton. It's Gerhard Berger coming in. He'll have to start from the back. Maybe he's getting into the spare car, and that spare car is set up for him.
They've waved him straight to the end. He tried to stop at his pit garage, and now they've waved him straight to the end of the pit lane.
Watch the lights. When they all go out, there'll be a short pause of about 4 to 7 seconds, and then the 71-lap Austrian Grand Prix is go! Good one for Villeneuve. Trulli is coming up well. They all get away well. We're looking down now, and you can see going into the first turn. It's Trulli moves up into second position. And Katayama comes out, and it's Mika Häkkinen in the lead. Villeneuve is down, and he's down to 4th position because there's someone else going past him as they come out to turn. It's one of the stewards. They bang wheels. It's Barrichello, and Magnussen is behind. A terrible start for Jacques Villeneuve again. Mika Häkkinen has got what he wanted. He's got a clear track in front of him. Jarno Trulli has moved ahead of Villeneuve.
And look at the steward coming up the inside of Villeneuve. Villeneuve has finally demoted to 4th place. A terrible start from him. Somebody's off in the gravel trap.
It's Barrichello, and it's not Barrichello into the gravel trap. Barrichello has come up past Villeneuve, and Berger has joined the race from the pit lane. And look at the gap now. Jacques Villeneuve seems to be in trouble because Jan Magnussen in the second steward is swarming all over his gearbox, and there's already a big gap developing between Jarno Trulli, who's challenging Häkkinen, and Barrichello. Look at Magnussen pushing Villeneuve. This is the first lap. They're coming out of the Rindt curve now into the last corner, the A1 curve, down to complete the lap. We're riding with Michael Schumacher over the line, and this is what we did not expect. I expected Häkkinen to go into the lead, but I didn't expect
Häkkinen is stopped, Murray. Häkkinen is on the side of the track. He did not pass the start-finish line. Mika Häkkinen appears to be out of the race. Trulli is leading.
Trulli leads, yes, indeed. Trulli leading. Barrichello is second, Villeneuve third, and the unfortunate Mika Häkkinen yet again. So many retirements. 4 of them this year. This was the race he stood a very good chance of winning, and what a bitter, bitter blow. But now, the Bridgestone-shod Prost with the Mugen engine of Jarno Trulli, who is only in his 14th Grand Prix, is leading here in Austria. Barrichello second, Villeneuve third, Magnussen fourth, Frentzen is in 5th place. Michael Schumacher has already gained 3 places. He's moved up into the points, which is where, at minimum, he wants to be in the World Championship situation. He's in 6th position. Behind him is Coulthard, who's gained 3 places. Damon Hill has dropped 1 to 8th position. Ralph Schumacher is 9th, Eddie Irvine is 10th.
Well, look, and remember how well the Bridgestone tyres have been going all weekend. Again, in the warm-up, they were fast. Truly the fastest man on the circuit on that lap so far. Yes, he's good pace there. Häkkönen's car will not be easy to recover from there, but no sign of a safety car at the moment. David Coulthard had a great start too. He's up to 7th place. And Michael Schumacher just 3 places behind the championship leader and the championship contender, Villeneuve.
Well, hearts, everybody's heart will go out to Mika Häkkinen. Here's the replay. They're coming out of turn 7, the last one. Mika Häkkinen slows down. Jarno Trulli goes past him. Häkkinen pulls off. So obviously there was some mechanical defect. This is a replay sitting with Mika Häkkinen. I cannot say how appalling this is for poor Mika and for McLaren and for Mercedes. And that's the spinning Benetton of Gerhard Berger at turn 2.
Remember, he started from the pit lane in that car. That's why you see no other cars around him. He was already last and dropped it on that first lap from the pit lane.
Now, Trulli has got a supreme challenge. We've got 2 new boys up front. Wonderful for Formula 1. Jarno Trulli in the Prost leads Rubens Barrichello. When I say new boys, Barrichello has driven in a lot of Grand Prix, but not in the Stewart. This is his first year with the team. And his teammate Jan Magnussen in the second white Stewart is there behind Villeneuve. There's Frentzen 5th. Schumacher 6th. Coulthard is right up with him. And this race is going to be very, very closely run. It's a difficult course to pass on like most of them, but not impossible. A long way from impossible. Tactics are going to govern the race, I think.
And look at Magnussen giving, I thought I saw some smoke there from the back of Michael Schumacher's Ferrari. Could have just been from having locked a tyre, locked a wheel, but Magnussen is all over the back of Villeneuve. The Bridgestone runners have so much more grip in the early stages of this race. They were hoping the sun would come out. Their tyres are even a little bit too hard for the cool conditions we had this morning, and they have got so much grip.
Yeah, and I'm watching the temperature all the time. The temperature now is actually going down a bit, which won't please Bridgestone, and it will please the Goodyear runners, but it's only a very, very small drop. And Michael Schumacher now is starting to close on Frentzen in 5th position. Now there is Frentzen, that is Schumacher. Behind him is Coulthard, behind him is Damon Hill in 8th position. Here are the leaders going through into lap 4. Jarno Trulli is leading a Grand Prix in only his 14th race. Barrichello, Villeneuve, Magnussen. This is quite incredible for the 2 Stewarts already. And hats off to Ford. They've been working so hard with Cosworth on that V10 engine of theirs. They're both using the Step 7 engine, the second evolution of it, for those of you who've been following the situation. The Step 8 is being held in reserve for later races. And Jarno Trulli, of course, has got behind him the Mugen Honda engine in his Prost. Well, what happened to Gerhard Berger? I think James Allen has found out. James?
That's right, Murray, in the Benetton garage at the moment. An error light came up on his dashboard, which is why he came into the pits. The team said, hey, there's no point in stopping here. We can't see anything wrong on the telemetry, so he went back out. He spun because he was just trying too hard. Mika Häkkinen's car is right across the track from me, right on the start-finish line, so he's making his way around the back. I'm sure Lou will catch up with him.
Well, Gerhard Berger will be trying hard, of course. It's just an awful indignity for him at his home track here in Austria to be in 20th place and so far back. 21 seconds behind the leader on the 4th lap. And there's Barrichello, Villeneuve, Magnussen. The leader, Jarno Trulli, is already into lap 6.
You have to comment on the supreme skills shown by all the drivers on that first lap, Murray. Sometimes they were 4 abreast into the corners, and I don't think I saw one car touch. The nearest anybody came to touching was Barrichello, struggled to slow down and nearly hit Villeneuve in the gearbox going into the first corner, but otherwise brilliant driving all the way through the field. Truly is flying. He's taking 0.3 of a second off of Barrichello on the last lap. But the next fastest man on the circuit is 3rd place man, Villeneuve. Clearly he's now getting his tyres up to the temperature that he wants, and he's beginning to home in again on Barrichello.
Well, who is this Jarno Trulli? He's 23 years old. He comes from Frankfurt, but never mind, because we're with Michael Schumacher. And Michael Schumacher is closing up on 5th place Heinz-Harald Frentzen. The fastest man on the track now is Jarno Trulli, 1 minute 14.29, which is, of course, a lap record. This is the first time this track has been used for a Grand Prix, and that represents a speed of some 210 kilometres an hour. As you look at Magnussen, Frentzen 5th, Schumacher 6th, Coulthard behind him in 7th place. Damon Hill in 8th position is catching David Coulthard in 7th position. Johnny Herbert is in 13th place. And there are 20 runners left in the Austrian Grand Prix of 1997, and we're on lap 7 out of this 71-lap race. So roughly 1/10 distance already. Lap 9 in Austria, and Jarno Trulli is leading. I was saying, who is Jarno Trulli? Well, this is only his 14th Grand Prix. He's a man who is a multiple kart champion. He's Italian, of course. 2 seasons only in Formula 3, in the second of which he was the champion of Germany, then into Formula 1 this year. And look at Michael Schumacher harrying Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and behind Schumacher in the red Ferrari there, it's David Coulthard, the winner of the Italian Grand Prix of Monza. There is Damon Hill. The yellow car in the background is Ralf Schumacher, Michael's brother. And that is Gerhard Berger forcing his way up back into contention, or trying to. At the present moment, he's 20th and last, catching Mika Salo, who is 19th in the Tyrrell. And the leaders come through to complete another lap shortly.
Trulli getting faster and faster. Yes, another new fastest lap there for Trulli. Took 4/10 out of Barrichello and Villeneuve that time. The man under pressure shortly is going to be Magnussen. His pace has dropped off, and he's got 2 hard runners coming up behind him. But it's a nice story, isn't it? 4 times world champion Alain Prost's car leading the race from 3 times world champion Jackie Stewart's car in 2nd position. That is a lovely story.
On lap 10 in Austria, race order. Trulli leads by 2.8 seconds. Barrichello is 1.4 seconds ahead of Villeneuve, who's 4 seconds ahead of Magnussen, and that is the traffic jam. Magnussen 4, Frentzen is right behind him. Schumacher is right behind Frentzen, and Coulthard is right behind Schumacher, and Hill is right behind Coulthard. There they are. There is Frentzen. Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who has disappointed in the Williams team for all sorts of reasons. Just 1 victory. Now we're back again with Schumacher. Now, where are we on the track? And the answer is we're climbing up towards the Jochen Rindt curve. Right-hander starts to drop down. 6th gear, 180 miles an hour on the approach. Off to 120. There's Frentzen, there's Schumacher, there is Coulthard, there is Damon Hill. And here are the race leaders. That is Jacques Villeneuve, who is behind Barrichello and Trulli. Well, it looks as though it's settled down. It's going to stay like this probably until the first pit stops. And if some of them are on a 2-stop, I would expect them to come in round about lap 23.
Yes, you'd imagine they would be fairly equidistant on their stints here. There's no particular reason to go any further than that if you're 2 or even 1 stopping, than really pretty much cutting the race in half. But they will have to react to the other cars around them, because times have been so close here all weekend. The cars are running very closely, as you can see. They've got to react to each other's pit stops. Louise Goodman has some news for us down in the pits. She's with Häkkinen.
Mika, I'm so sorry for you. What happened?
Looks like the engine failed. So when that failed, you know, it's just exploded in the first lap, but that's it. The game is over.
Devastating for you.
Yes.
Well, what can you say for poor Mika? He richly deserves a win. It looked as though he was in a very strong position to get it. Engine goes, you don't expect that from the Mercedes. It's a strong engine. But the fact is that yet again, Mika Häkkinen's bad luck has struck him.
Well, we're riding on board there with Frentzen, but it has been curious. There's been a lot of talk in the paddock this weekend why so many engines have blown up here. Last race at Monza, which is really an engine tester, there was virtually no explosions in that area. But here, I think it's because they're running very short gears. It's a relatively short racetrack, low-speed corners. You're always bouncing off the rev limiter, and 1 or 2 other factors involving all kinds of technical scenarios, and we've had a lot of engine failures here, contrary to many expectations.
When our man in the pit lane, James Allen, tried to interview Jackie Stewart after the Monaco Grand Prix when Rubens Barrichello finished second, Jackie burst into tears and rushed off. His man was second. Well, he's second now, and not only that, but his other man, Jan Magnussen, who nobody has paid very much attention to this year because he's been disappointing, is in fourth position. Jan Magnussen has really got himself together since Italy and the preceding races. He's a lot happier, he's very happy with the team, and the car is absolutely right here. And of course, this is probably the nearest approximation to a kart circuit, and I mean that in the nicest possible way, for a Grand Prix layout. And Jan Magnussen is a multiple kart champion, world champion. So he's really in his element here. There he is, followed by Frentzen, Schumacher. Coulthard is still seventh. Hill is still tucked up just behind, but he's got a bit of a gap. You can see as he comes towards us in the arrows. Now, Pedro Diniz had 2 engines blow yesterday in qualifying. Any problems in the Arrows team? Any worries?
No, they've had a good warm-up. I felt so sorry for Diniz yesterday because he was fastest in the morning and then looked so good. He was been faster than Trulli all weekend up until that point. Ended up 17th on the grid. He's moved up to 14th. Difficult place to overtake, but really Pedro Diniz had the opportunity to go from being a well-known paying driver to a successful driver yesterday, and he was robbed really because the engine blew up on him. But there's Trulli, very, very commanding drive he's putting in now. Another new fastest lap of the race for him. He's pulling away now something like half a second a lap and looks extremely easy and smooth with it.
This is an absolutely astounding performance. No words of mine can underline it too much.
Some lovely camera angles here with the TV company here. They're doing a good job all weekend, particularly in that last corner. You can get a good feel of the speed of the car through there. And here's Trulli coming into turn 2, into the hairpin. He's not flurrying, he's not hurrying, he's just not locking the brakes. Nice and cool, smooth, not riding the curbs too much. Looking very under control, Murray.
Tell us about the pressure on him, Martin. He knows he's leading his first ever Grand Prix. He knows the gap is increasing. It is a gigantic challenge.
But if your car is underneath you, like his clearly is, by that I mean it's doing what you expect. It's not giving you any nasty surprises in the middle of the corner. And it's really working well, and you feel part of the car. You look in your mirrors. Unfortunately, I never had this in Grand Prix racing, but I had it in sports car racing and saloon car racing many a time. You think, well, come on, guys, where are you today? Because this is too easy for me. It's a strange feeling, and he appears to have that at the moment. He's not under pressure, but let's see if he's 2-stopping or 1-stopping.
Great to see, whatever. Lap 14 in Austria. Jarno Trulli leads Rubens Barrichello by 4.6 seconds. Villeneuve is behind them in 3rd place, just about 0.6 of a second back, ahead of Jan Magnussen. And coming towards us now, the battle for 5th position. Here is Magnussen. Frentzen is 5th. Schumacher is 6th. Coulthard is 7th. Hill is 8th. That's Ralf Schumacher in 9th position. Eddie Irvine is in 10th place. There are... And look at this battle now. As Eddie Irvine and Jean Alesi battle. And go through on the inside, the other Jordan.
Yes, Ralf Schumacher, and it looks as if Ralf Schumacher also got a good drive out of that corner and took Alesi for good measure. So Fisichella is also mixed up in that battle. Neither the Jordans nor the Benettons have been performing at all well this weekend, but a good move into turn 2 there for Alesi on Irvine.
So I've given you the first 10, Lacey, and Fisichella is in 11th place. There is a replay, and...
That was, I think that's Gerhard Berger making his way past Mika Salo pretty much at the back end of the field.
It is. Gerhard Berger is now up into 19th position. He's lapping 1.5 seconds faster than Mika Salo. The last car on the track is also a Tyrrell. It's Jos Verstappen. That was Trulli. Now look at this. This is the battle for 2nd position. Barrichello and Villeneuve. There's a big gap of 7.8 seconds before Magnussen.
Now watch Magnussen. He tends to turn in much earlier into the corner than certainly the trailing pack behind him. It's obviously the way he set the car up, or the way he most feels comfortable. But he leads the car very early into the apex of the corner, almost as if he feels he needs to defend something at the moment, but he's not in that position, although Frentzen is homing in on him, as you can quite clearly see.
So that is Damon Hill. He is in 8th position in the arrows and coming towards us now. Jan Magnussen is, I think, holding them up, but that's academic as we see Mika Häkkinen looking miserable. Talking to Mario Illian, who is one of the 2 bosses of the Ilmor company that make the Mercedes-Benz V10 engine at Brixworth.
Well, that's a horrible feeling. I mean, he's in his civvies already, and the race is over virtually before it started, and you just feel left behind. You feel sick. You've done a good job all weekend. You did nothing wrong, and it's just been taken away from you. And there's nothing you can do about it.
All the mechanics there sitting watching, like you, watching the race on their monitors there, in their fire suits, ready to get their men in, refuel them and put new tyres and wheels on. And it's not going to be all that long before, if there are any 2-stoppers, the first of them come in. And the places from 4th down to 9th could change very rapidly indeed, because Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Schumacher are now really pushing Jan Magnussen. That's the white car as he turns into turn 2, now to the highest point of the course, drops down to the Gerser curve. So Magnussen, Frentzen, Schumacher, Michael Schumacher, still in the points, just 1 point at the present moment, but if anybody goes out, he's going to increase those points and close the points gap between himself and Jacques Villeneuve. The World Championship is on a knife edge here, and it looks as though it's going to continue to be on a knife edge as we go into the last 3 races of the year. The Luxembourg Grand Prix, the Japanese Grand Prix, and of course the European Grand Prix at Jerez in Spain. Ring in Austria, it's lap 19. Jarno Trulli is out on his own, driving a superlative race in the Frostmugen with its Bridgestone tyres, 7 seconds ahead of a battle between Barrichello and Villeneuve for 2nd place. A tremendous battle. There it is behind. Magnussen is 4th, Frentzen is 5th, Schumacher is 6th. Coulthard is 7th, Damon Hill is in 8th position. That's Ralf Schumacher, who is in 9th position. Jean Alesi is 10th in the Benetton, ahead of Fisichella in the Jordan, Eddie Irvine in the Ferrari, Johnny Herbert is 13th in the Sauber.
Magnussen has got a good pace there. We're watching the Barrichello-Villeneuve scrap. Both Stewarts at the moment are just in front of both Williams. There's something to say, isn't it? But Ralf Schumacher's already caught up onto the pack. Magnussen is holding up Frentzen, Schumacher and Co, as we've said. And I think very shortly you're going to find Alesi and Fisichella on the back of Ralf Schumacher there to make a nice long queue of cars, putting pressure on young Jan Magnussen. Be interesting to see how he copes with that all afternoon.
Bit of a mystery, Martin. Why have Ferrari put Eddie Irvine on soft tyres? He is down in 12th position. His teammate Michael Schumacher is on the harder compound. There must have been some logic to it, surely.
Well, the only thing I can think is that Irvine appeared to be very fast yesterday morning before qualifying. They put him on the soft tyres in the hope that he would be right up the front of the grid and able to cause a bit of trouble for Jacques Villeneuve. That's the only reason I can think, because that is not a sensible solution that they've done. You can see there now you've got 3 of the 4 cars that are on the soft tyres are all running together way back down the field. Unfortunately for Diniz, he's caught up in the middle of them.
And now the fastest man on the track is Giancarlo Fisichella, 11th place in the Jordan with its Peugeot engine, and he's pushing Jean Alesi. So let's look hopefully and see. That's Katayama that we've just seen go by in 17th position in the Minardi. His teammate, incidentally, Tarso Marquez, did not start this race because he was disqualified yesterday when his car and himself were found to be underweight.
There's the 2 I was just talking about, Alesi and Fisichella. They're pulling each other along beautifully, and they're going to cruise up to the back of the pack. Tremendous speed those 2 have got back there. You wonder where that's come from, because those 2 cars have been off the pace all weekend. But I remember talking to some of the sports car drivers here from the GT race, and they said we were up a gear in every corner during the race from qualifying. The grip comes on this track as the rubber goes down, and the cars will be going faster and faster. And to back that up, Jarno Trulli sets another new fastest lap on a 1:13.2. The pace is hot.
Yeah, Fisichella didn't keep that fastest lap for very long. Jarno Trulli has taken it back from him. He's in a beautiful smooth rhythm now, lapping at about 1 minute 13.2, 13.3, 13.4. And we join Heinz-Harald Frentzen now. Ahead of us is Jan Magnussen, but you can see the gap is much greater between the Williams Renault and the Stewart Ford than it was. And Jan Magnussen is right up and challenging. No, there you see, coming towards us is Barrichello, passing Verstappen as Frentzen comes up. Now we're starting to get a lapping situation now. Jan Magnussen has already lapped Verstappen, who is 20th and last in the race. Here is Frentzen coming up to the Jochen Rindt curve, named after the great Austrian world champion, the only posthumous one in the history of Grand Prix racing.
Well, that's given Magnussen a bit of breathing space, hasn't it? And moved Michael Schumacher right up onto the back of Frentzen. So Frentzen pulling out there to cruise. Look at Schumacher. He's locked his wheel, but he's just managed to hold it off. And Coulthard goes through nicely too. Well, that little moment is over, but Frentzen under a bit of pressure there, and Michael, his heart would have been in his mouth there, because it'd be so easy to lose your front wing in that situation and just tap the guy, tap his rear wheels, and you have to make a pit stop for a new front nose section. And effectively, with the pace of this race and the closeness of the competition, there he is going up the inside, one of the accepted overtaking places around here. Verstappen well out of the running today, sensibly moves out of the way. Yeah,
he's a very experienced driver now, Jos Verstappen. This is his 44th Grand Prix. He gets out, lets Frentzen go by, lets Coulthard go by, he lets Schumacher in front of Coulthard go by as well. And incidentally, Damon Hill has also passed the Dutchman in the Tyrrell. We're on lap 23 out of 71. And all this is very bad news. There is Magnussen. Here is Frentzen. All this is very bad news for Jacques Villeneuve and his World Championship chances, because Schumacher is harrying Frentzen. We're with Frentzen now, and Schumacher's right on his rear. Well, he's dropped back a bit now. You can see him as they come out to turn one.
Well, all credit to Magnussen. Probably the first time ever in his Formula 1 career he's lapped somebody, and he did a beautiful job of it and pulled out a big gap back to Frentzen, and made that gap up to what is it about there? 2.5 seconds now. So a nice move there from Magnussen. The traffic fell right for him, and he maximised. Be interesting to see now if Frentzen and Schumacher cruise in, or how quickly they cruise back up to the gearbox of Magnussen, and that'll give us an idea. That'll give us an idea. That's Villeneuve. He's pretty upset with, has he just passed the Tyrrell as well, or was that Barrichello?
Well, I'm just checking as it comes towards us. It's certainly not the Tyrrell.
I think it's Barrichello then. I think Villeneuve has just passed Barrichello for second place in the race.
Now that is good news for Jacques Villeneuve. But let's take a check.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, Villeneuve is through.
We didn't see it, but Villeneuve has got past Barrichello to put himself onto 6 World Championship points. Now this is lap 25. If you want to make a note mentally or any other way, the gap between Trulli, the race leader, and Villeneuve was 10.8 seconds. Here's a replay.
Here it is into 2. Good move, look. He's squeezing him out. Nice move there. Barrichello saw him coming and realised that really the game was up. Nothing too much he could do about that. Look, he got a good toe down the straight, moved into position, moved in for the kill. And, well, very decisive, very important move there. As you say, Murray puts him into 6 World Championship points, while Michael Schumacher's still back there with a solitary point to his name in this race at the moment.
Yeah, and Michael Schumacher is losing touch slightly with Frentzen, who's just gone fastest of all. New lap record, the first in under 1 minute 13 seconds, 1 minute 12.958. And you watch Villeneuve, and it's critical now. He's charging. Look at the gap he's already built between himself and Rubens Barrichello as he tries to close on Jarno Trulli, and I think he's going to do it.
Well, that was the piece of information I was looking for. How quickly can Frentzen be when he's not got the Jordan, the Stewart on the end of his nose? And we can now see that. And now you're going to see Villeneuve make a big charge to try to reduce the 10.7 second lead that Jarno Trulli has.
Now, this is lap 26. Race order. Trulli leads Villeneuve by 10.7 seconds. Barrichello is dropping back, 3rd position. Magnussen in the other Stewart is 4th. Frentzen is in 5th place. Schumacher is 6th. Coulthard is 7th. Damon Hill is 8th, right with the McLaren. Ralf Schumacher is 9th. Alesi is 10th. Johnny Herbert is in 12th place, just behind Fisichella, and ahead of Deniz, Morbidelli. Eddie Irvine only 15th. Remember, on those soft compound tyres, big mistake for the 4 people who decided to use soft compound tyres. Eddie Irvine 15th, Nakano is 16th, then it's Katayama. Berger is up into 18th place from 21st, where he was at one point. Salo is 19th, Jos Verstappen is 20th and last, has been lapped, and we are now on lap 25 with Heinz Harald Frentzen. The car you're looking at ahead is that of Jan Magnussen.
Well, the 2 stoppers are going to have to be in the pits anytime soon. We're over a third distance, so anybody that's 2 stopping will be preparing for that pit stop. We'll look out for that. There's Gerhard Berger still making his way through the back of the field. Not quite where he wanted to be. Yes, new lap record for Villeneuve, 1:12.5. He can now start to put some pressure on Trulli.
Yeah, that's 8/10ths of a second faster than Trulli.
Magnussen is in the pits. Magnussen is in the pits, so he's 2 stopping clearly for the first key stop of the afternoon there. Stewart team, important stop for them. All eyes are on them. Not bad. Not special, but not bad.
8.6 seconds compares with Jos Verstappen's time of 8:01 seconds. Jacques Villeneuve, that's the confirmation. Fastest lap, and that's Damon Hill, I think, charging up. No,
that's Deniz, to give you an idea of how close all of the cars are. Look, Magnussen realises he doesn't need that car in front of him, but he can't make that move stick. So just to give you an idea of how far down the field he's dropped, it's the 14th place there, and that's Katayama finishing his pit stop. But so that's track position there for Magnussen is appalling. That's not where he needed to be, especially if the key Goodyear runners are 1 stopping.
Now, this is the longest pit lane in the business, I reckon, because it starts before the last corner, turn 7, and continues the whole length of the main straight and rejoins after turn 1. So that's a crucial factor in the planning for strategy and when you're going to stop and for what reason, fuel and tyres.
Well, our pit crew tell us that Barrichello is coming in also, so clearly both the Stewart Fords are on the same race strategy, and we're expecting him in just over a lap. But Trulli appears to be making his tyres work well. He's on the same tyres, as you know. All the Bridgestone runners are on the same compounded tyre, and he appears to be having no problems at all there. The car's working well.
Absolutely sailing through the field is Jarno Trulli. This is lap 28 out of 71 in Austria, this crucial race for the World Championship, with Michael Schumacher leading Jacques Villeneuve by 10 points when the race started. And coming towards us now is Jarno Trulli into his 29th lap.
Well, we have to say Villeneuve has taken 2.5 seconds out of Trulli in the last 2 laps. A new lap record for Villeneuve, a 1:12.1, and Barrichello is in the pit lane. Louise.
Always very tense down in the garages when the car's coming in for a pit stop. You can imagine there's extra pressure as well when your car is running well. You can imagine how nervous the team are going to be today. In fact, they've been doing some research into the stresses that the guys are under. For the hard runners, are on to Paul Singlehurst, the refueling man on the refueling hose. 183 beats a minute his heart went up to. Incredible stress. They managed to cope with it all very well today, though. 8.4 seconds.
And bad news there for Barrichello. Look, he's come out of the pits just behind Johnny Herbert. We know Johnny's struggling with his tyres, so that's going to cost Rubens vital seconds, even if he can pass him. The Stewarts have been very unlucky on their outlap.
So that means that Barrichello is in 12th position. His teammate Jan Magnussen is in 13th place. Jarno Trulli is staying out. Jacques Villeneuve is closing the gap. And Heinz Harald Frentzen has benefited as Trulli goes through turn 1, climbs up at about 160 miles an hour at the point he's at now. And there is Jacques Villeneuve turning round the same corner that Trulli went round a few seconds ago, and the gap is down to under 8 seconds. Villeneuve did not close nearly as much on Trulli. We're riding with the French-Canadian now. He didn't close nearly as much on that lap as he had on the previous one. But you look down the course now, And you can see, and the Ferrari is Michael Schumacher, but there is Frentzen. Frentzen is now third, Schumacher is fourth, Coulthard is fifth, Damon Hill is in the points in sixth position, and we're on lap 30. Lap 32, coming up to half distance. Two colossal packs of cars. That is Pedro Diniz, 13th. Behind him, Irvine, Morbidelli, Nakano. But number 14 there, who has yet to stop, is Jarno Trulli. He's still 8 seconds nearly ahead of Jacques Villeneuve, who closed a bit. But Trulli has responded brilliantly to the challenge. And if you look back down the track, the next car you see, here it is Jacques Villeneuve in second place.
Villeneuve still eating away at that lead, though. Murray's down to 7.4 seconds now. Now they've unleashed the two Williams cars. They're absolutely flying.
Because Frentzen is in third place. Michael Schumacher is in fourth place. Bad news for Jacques Villeneuve. There is Schumacher. That is Coulthard in fifth position. And between Villeneuve and Schumacher, the World Championship points situation is only 3 different at the present moment in this race. So that means to say that if they stayed where they were, and I don't think they will, Schumacher would be leading by 7 points at the end of this race instead of 10, which he was when it began. But we've still got over half the race to go. As you look at the sole remaining McLaren, that of the Australian Grand Prix, and into the pits comes the Benetton of Gerhard Berger.
Well, the reason they'll have stopped him, I think he's still on a one-stopper, Murray, but he was held up behind that big group of cars that with Magnussen, Barrichello, Herbert, Diniz, they're all in there, and they clearly decided to stop Gerhard slightly early so he can try and get a bit of clear space in front of him. Villeneuve, another new lap record on a 1:12.1, took 9/10 of a second off of Trulli on that lap. His gap is now down to 6.5 seconds.
Yeah, Villeneuve himself said before this race began he was going to be racing mainly against people who were not so much concerned with the World Championship as winning the race, and one of them was Mika Häkkinen, who went out on the very first lap. And now Villeneuve can really go for it, and my goodness, he is doing so. He's carving into the lead of Jarno Trulli. It's 6.5 seconds now as we join the French-Canadian and look ahead to see where Trulli is. That is Jacques Villeneuve. He's out on his own because he's now 12 seconds ahead of Frentzen, his teammate, who is third.
Have you ever had that funny dream, Murray, where you're running down a tunnel and the guy who's running after you just keeps catching you up however hard you can run? And that must be how Trulli feels at the moment. Whatever lap time he can put in, Villeneuve is just coming back at him. Diniz in there for his one and only stop of the race. Bit of a problem there. The refueling rig won't come off, and hence the very long stop. New tyres, you can see, a poor stop there. So for some reason they couldn't get that rig off.
Yeah, it cost him about 6/10 of a second when he stopped there.
Another new lap record for Villeneuve, 1:11.9. The gap now down to 5.6 seconds. He's on a charge.
Yeah, it's just a question now of how long it takes Jacques Villeneuve to catch Jarno Trulli, and how well the young Italian can then resist, because you saw the two cars in the same shot there as Trulli turns into the Gerser curve, dropping down to the two left-handers, Lauda and Powerhorse. There, now look, that was Trulli. Here is Jacques Villeneuve, 1:11.9. That's the first lap in under 1 minute 12 seconds we've had at the A1 ring today. And Jacques Villeneuve is so much faster than Trulli at the present moment.
And one of the Prost, there's Nakano in for a stop. That's a good move. That'll warm the boys up for what will be a very important pit stop. Surely Nakano's out of the running today, but it'll give the boys a good warm-up and a good sense of confidence to get Nakano in first and then prepare for truly the important stop for that team today.
And watching this race, of course, is Olivier Panis, the man who went out of the Canadian Grand Prix driving the Prost, broke both his legs. We expect him back at the Nürburgring next weekend. He has been sensationally fast in testing. He was on the pace straight away, and he went quicker at Magny-Cours than Michael Schumacher had for his pole position in the actual race. So if Trulli can go as well as he is going here, when Olivier Panis gets back, the Prost team are going to have a really fearsome combination. Frentzen now, he's in third position. He's got Michael Schumacher very close to him indeed. As we look at Jacques Villeneuve, he's got a clear track behind him, he's got a clear track in front of him. The gap to Jarno Trulli is down to under 6 seconds. This is lap 36. Both of them have yet to come in. So presumably both of them started off with quite a heavy fuel load.
Yes, well, probably they would be full, because obviously there's no way you can get enough fuel in these cars to do the race non-stop now. We saw Mika Salo do it in Monaco, but it was a wet race, and it was very touch and go there because the race was stopped on time rather than laps. But they will start the race with something like 90 kilos of fuel on board, as Villeneuve does another new lap record, 1:11.8. He's now taking consistently 9/10 out of him, but we're brewing up for the Williams pit stops. You saw a while back them coming out. Frenzen's getting ready for his stop. I can see there's a Benetton in the pit lane, but we know that Frentzen is coming in first for his stop. He's had a couple of steady laps. That was Villeneuve bouncing down the outside of the racetrack there, Murray. Got away with it.
And in comes Jean Alesi. He's worked his way up to 9th. Villeneuve will, of course, lost time there. That shows you how hard he's pushing. He was very lucky to get away with it, because if he'd got both his rear wheels on the grass, there's no doubt at all that he would have lost it, but he didn't, and he didn't put his wheels on the grass or lose it. We've got news from James Allen in the pit lane.
Heinz-Harald Frentzen expected any moment. Williams mechanics in a slight confusion. Meanwhile, the Prost mechanics, as Martin pointed out, nicely loosened up. They were really fired up by that pit stop of Nakano. Alain Prost is chewing his nails down to the quick, and he's an inveterate nail biter, and he just raised his eyebrows at me. He walked into the garage a minute ago. No, change of plan by Williams. Change of plan. They're bringing Villeneuve in.
And here comes Trulli. Trulli's in. That's the blue Prost of Jarno Trulli, race leader. Now, I'm waiting to see Jacques Villeneuve go through as you watch. And there's a flood of cars just gone past me, but I was watching Trulli at that vital moment. And out he goes, and coming up towards us now, you can see, but there is Villeneuve, and Frentzen, here is, now, the McLaren, and Jarno Trulli rejoins behind David Coulthard. So there's Schumacher, there is Coulthard. The car with the red wings was Mika Salo, who has been lapped now. He's in 15th position. And look back one more, and you should see, there he is, Jarno Trulli. And this is the 38th lap.
Well, I can only assume they have been changing the tyres in the Williams pit, and they've just now put them back in again. So, James, what's going on down there?
Complete confusion down here a second ago, Martin. They were ready for Frentzen. They had Frenzen's tyres out. Then all of a sudden, the fuel guy grabbed Villeneuve's hose, and he was ready to refuel Villeneuve. They started to bring Villeneuve's tyres out, and then that was when they saw Trulli come in, and then they decided to cancel both stops, and they're now sitting back in the garage. He obviously started on a lot of fuel. He's going to put, I reckon Trulli put about 80 kilos of fuel in. Villeneuve's going to put less fuel in when he stops.
Oh,
so, back to you.
Big one. That is now I'm just going to, it's Jean Alesi. Jean Alesi's obviously had a coming together with, was it Eddie Irvine? I didn't see the other car, but one of them went off, and Jean Alesi is out of the Austrian Grand Prix. Lap 39, Villeneuve leads, Frentzen is second, Williams first and second, but neither of them have stopped. Michael Schumacher.
Here we go, up into turn 2 there. Alesi's lost it a bit on the inside. Irvine tries to carry on round the ice. Whoa! There we go, over the top. The sticky tyres, they launched the cars so quickly. Be amazed if Irvine's car's still runnable after that. And Morbidelli getting hooked up behind them for good measure. Now Irvine's front right's gone. Luckily it didn't roll over. That car's going no further, as we've already seen. That was a nasty accident, but when these tyres are hot and sticky, they just launch you so quickly when you go face to face on the tyres, as you saw.
So Jean Alesi but walks away, but Eddie Irvine was very, very lucky to get away with that. You saw Alesi's Benetton rear up over the Ferrari. There's the Williams men coming out again. Now this time it will be, and also Ferrari, it's for Villeneuve. Now Villeneuve is really pushing, because he knows that with Trulli having been in as Irvine comes.
Irvine driving into the pit garage, he knows his race is over. He'll have suspension damage. He would have felt that on the touring in lap. Villeneuve, we know, bounced across the curbs. That's Michael Schumacher putting a move on somebody there. Must have been Gerhard Berger. So Irvine noses out of the race. Villeneuve bounced across the curbs. Williams would have seen that, wondering if he needed to stop. I think that's probably why the confusion over which Williams is going to stop first. They've stopped neither of them, but they must now be coming in anytime soon, Mary. We're 39 laps into the race.
Now listen to this, 28 seconds is what it takes to take a pit stop.
That was Schumacher putting a move on Frentzen. Schumacher finally, now the Williams team will be livid with that. That let Schumacher up and past the Williams, and now they needed to keep him behind them to take points away from him. They'll be livid that Frentzen's allowed Michael Schumacher somehow to cleanly get past.
And he's going to allow the other car behind, and in comes Jacques Villeneuve. Now, James.
I was trying to say earlier, Murray, just before that Lacey accident, that Villeneuve's going to be putting less fuel than Jarno Trulli, and that's what we saw with David Coulthard in Italy, which is why he was quicker in his pit stop than Jean Lacey. He started heavy, 9.9, that's absolutely fantastic for a one-stop strategy, and he's really on his way, Villeneuve. Now, Trulli, I think, has had his day.
Well, we'll see, because it's very close indeed. You can see there's Coulthard, there's Trulli, and he's going through ahead of, or almost with, Jacques Villeneuve. Now let's look back down, there is Jacques Villeneuve. Now I think he got out just in, yes he did. There is Jarno Trulli behind him, and they're coming up to David Coulthard, who is in 4th place but has not stopped. So the situation now is that Jacques Villeneuve is in, having made his pit stop, and there he is, and that behind him is Jarno Trulli, and the race is going to be between these two, because Villeneuve has been in, Schumacher has got to stop, Frentzen's got to stop, Coulthard has got to stop.
You're right, Murray, and it all shakes out. Villeneuve is now leading this race. I noticed that when Trulli came out, we mentioned about the outlaps. Trulli came out behind one of the Tyrrells. He's obviously had a bad run in those intervening laps before Villeneuve made his stop, and clearly that's given Villeneuve track position. We know Villeneuve's got a faster car, so that's going to be tough for Trulli to make any impression on him, let alone pass him.
Lap 42, Michael Schumacher leads the Austrian Grand Prix from Heinz-Harald Frentzen and David Coulthard. 5.3 seconds behind them, but none of those three have stopped. There is Frentzen, there is Coulthard.
So this is for position here. Coulthard running in 3rd place at the moment. Frentzen in 2nd. David having a strong run there, but he's pretty much been backed up behind somebody in the first 40 laps. Hasn't been able to put that move on Frentzen yet. Perhaps he'll be coming in the pits this lap with a bit of luck to try and give him some clear air.
Now, as you watch Frentzen and Coulthard there battling for 2nd position, Michael Schumacher is ahead of them. All three have got to stop. The top man who has stopped is Villeneuve, who's in 4th place, and Trulli, who's in 5th place, with 1.1 seconds only behind them. And there they are. There is... Sorry, that's Schumacher leading now. And in 6th position is Ralf Schumacher. 7th is Fisichella.
Pit lane for Michael Schumacher, his stop. He pulled out a 5-second lead on Frentzen. James is there.
It'll be a short fuel stop, Martin, for him, and I reckon this total lost time when he comes into the pit later, when he goes out, will be about 26, 27 seconds. So he's reasonably competitive. I think he's in better shape. He would have been. Frentzen's in behind him, but Ferrari looking pretty slick. The fuel hose is off. Bit of a stick from the back. He's on his way. 10.4, a little bit slower than they were looking for.
What about Frentzen? You can see his time ticking away.
Well, terrific stop there from Michael Schumacher and the Ferrari team. Once again, they're making something out of nothing here to minimise Villeneuve's advantage this afternoon, because when as soon as Schumacher passed Frentzen, he immediately started putting in much faster laps, pulled out a 5-second lead, and look what it's done for him. It's just put him right into the core of the race so he can score some decent points.
Great tactics by a great driver and a very great team. And on lap 43, as you look at Heinz-Harald Frentzen lumbering his way round the corner comparatively, it's only about 45 miles an hour, turn 2. We're on lap 43 now. It's a 71-lap race, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen has stopped.
Interestingly, I think I can see Schumacher ahead of the two Stewarts there, so good for him in that he can get a good clear lap. The two Stewarts are climbing all over the back of Michael Schumacher as he builds up the speed.
In comes Coulthard in the McLaren from 2nd position. Well, he was in the lead, actually. And this is the 44th lap. and David Coulthard gets away now. He's still there, still.
Wow, what a super stop. That should put him back in front of Frentzen with a bit of luck. David, if you can get a good exit out of there.
There he is on the left.
Yes, that's going to give David track positioning. Well done, that's good stuff.
Beautiful stop by the McLaren team, and this emphasises that Formula One Grand Prix racing is a team event. It's about the driver, about the car, about the engine, about the tyres, about the mechanics, the engineers, the designers, the technicians, and each is just as important as all the others. And there is Jacques Villeneuve leading again now that David Coulthard has been in. Where is Jarno Trulli? There he is in second position. So Villeneuve leads Trulli by under 2 seconds, and we watch Heinz-Harald Frentzen going up into turn 1.
I don't know who he's passing there, didn't see it. He's pointing at him to say something. I don't know what German for that would be, but anyway.
Not very polite, whatever it was.
We understand that Dickie Stanford, the team manager of Williams, has gone up to the control tower to speak to the stewards. We don't know what about. It'll be interesting to see how that one unfolds.
Look at Fisichella going past Jarno Trulli. Now that is very interesting indeed, because Fisichella in the Jordan is in third position. He's now moved therefore up into second place. But Fisichella has yet to stop. He's the only one that's running now who has not stopped. But this may be an inspired move. It's been left incredibly late. He must have started up with a trailer load of fuel behind him.
Well, they would have topped it up on the grid so that it was absolutely brim full. But the car's not been that good all weekend, so at least that's given them some kind of small advantage, because the tyres have stayed with him through the entire run. A good run from Fisichella, but he's about to drop a lot of places because there's a big train behind him that have already been in to say hello to their pits.
Yeah, Trulli looks as though he's, I don't know whether he's tiring or whether there's a little problem with the car, or he just can't face up to Villeneuve and the Williams Renault, but whatever, he's dropping back.
Well, remember that at this moment, Trulli's car is probably 80 kilos lighter than Fisichella's in the pits now, we believe, coming in the pits on this. Yes, he is. Remember, Fisichella's car was 80 kilos lighter when he passed Trulli then, because he hadn't any fuel on board. You can see them coming in now for that fuel stop. And remember, the cars only weigh just over 500 kilograms. It's a significant percentage.
So this should be a good short stop, 8.5 seconds, the same time that David Coulthard took. And David came in 2 laps earlier. Now, you've just seen Heinz-Harald Frentzen go through. He is in 8th position, and as Fisichella rejoins lap 46, the order is Villeneuve leading, Trulli second, Michael Schumacher is third. Very good news for Schumacher and Ferrari. Barrichello is 5th, and Magnussen is in 6th place. Both the stewards in the top 6. Well, with the first steward having made its second stop and everybody else having stopped once, watched by Michael Douglas, who says he's not here in connection with Sylvester Stallone's forthcoming film on Formula One. But Jacques Villeneuve leads on lap 48 with Jarno Trulli 5.6 seconds behind him, and Michael Schumacher, who is catching the Prost, is 6.5 seconds behind Trulli. Now, you've just seen Villeneuve, there he goes into another lap. 4th is Barrichello, 5th is Magnussen, 6th is Coulthard, 7th is Frentzen, 8th, 9th and 10th, Fisichella, Ralf Schumacher and Damon Hill is in 10th position. And news from the pits, Louise Goodman, what's the news?
Well, Murray, I'm standing outside the Benetton garage. Jean Lacey has just arrived back here with a face as black as thunder. He very firmly but politely refused to do an interview with me, walked straight past me into the back of the Ferrari garage, obviously looking for Eddie Irvine. He was unable to find him. He's come out again, pushed past all of the journalists and marched back into the Benetton garage. He's obviously feeling very aggrieved and not happy at all.
And we have sensational news that Michael Schumacher is being given a 10-second penalty for overtaking under the yellow flag. Now that is going to ruin his race.
Well, remember, we said that Dickie Stanford of Williams had gone up into the steward's office, and they were clearly going to be furious that he'd managed to get past Frentzen. They believe he overtook Frentzen under a yellow flag. The yellow flags are out, remember, for when Lacey and Irvine got together, and it appears that Michael Schumacher took advantage of that. It's strictly forbidden to overtake under the yellows. You can even be black flagged for that. So within the next 3 laps, he's got to call in and stop at his own garage, his own pits, for 10 seconds and recommence. It'll cost him a half a minute. He's out of the points.
Yeah, reminiscent of 1994 when he was black flagged at the British Grand Prix and didn't come in, and in the end he was disqualified, and Damon Hill won the race. Now, Michael Schumacher's got to come in, and as you rightly point out, Martin, it's not a 10-second penalty, it's a 30-second penalty, because he has to come into the pit lane, stop, watch the seconds tick away, comes to his own garage, and they do it there, and then get away again. Now, 30 seconds means that he's going to be at least down to 9th or 10th place, battling with Damon Hill and Johnny Herbert if things continue as they are now. We're on lap 50. Jacques Villeneuve is leading. There he is. He's coming up to catch and pass a collection of cars in front of him, which may give Jarno Trulli the opportunity to close the gap. It's 7 seconds at the present moment. Yet John Todt obviously very unhappy, as he's bound to be, with his man coming in, and Michael Schumacher turns off before turn 7. Now he'll stop at the Ferrari pit. There he is.
Yes, there he goes. He's got to look for his own man. They used to have a penalty box you had to go to. Now they make it that you stop in your own pit. That's because if you stall the engine, everything is there ready to restart the engine. Turning the lollipop over, as you saw, ready to go. It seems forever. I've had 2 or 3 of those stop and goes. It seems like a half a minute just sitting there. And, well, if he loses the World Championship, he's going to be thinking about that moment. As Barrichello came out of his second pit stop, just ahead of Michael Schumacher, to add insult to injury, just what Michael didn't need.
Yeah, I said he was going to come out round about Ralf Schumacher and Damon Hill. Actually, he's come out in 10th or 11th position, held up by the steward in front of him. And we've got Louise is with Eddie Irvine. What happened there?
Eddie, that looked pretty hairy. Tell us what happened.
I don't know whether it was Gerhard or Leslie.
Sure.
All right. He was obviously very heavy on fuel, and I was right, and he kept the inside, so I braked him around the outside, and he stayed on the inside, and then he just gradually slid out and then hit my wheel and went over the top.
You seem to be struggling in this race.
Yeah, I blistered the tires after about 15 laps or something. I took it easy, hoping they'd hang on. And then I pushed, but as soon as I pushed, that was it, they went.
Well, you have to say Eddie was still trying to hold position. I felt he gave Jean enough room around the outside. It was pretty much a racing incident. He's entitled to try to keep that position. He left, you know, Jean came up the inside. Well, I don't understand why Jean would be so angry with Eddie any more than he would be angry with himself.
So Jacques Villeneuve now, you can see him, he's in the lead, he's on his 52nd lap. He's up behind Gerhard Berger, coming up to lap the Benetton, and in front of Berger is Nakano, in front of Nakano is Pedro Diniz. So Villeneuve's got quite a lot of passing to do. The gap is 7.5 seconds. They're not going to be easy people to pass, particularly Gerhard Berger, who's got the same Renault engine in his Benetton as Villeneuve has in the Williams. So Trulli is second. Coulthard, who won the last race in Italy as Jos Verstappen, comes into the pits, 17th and 2 laps down. David Coulthard is third. Frentzen is fourth. And it's looking very good for Williams in the Constructors' Championship. They were only 1 point behind Ferrari when this race began, and their men are currently first and fourth, with Fisichella fifth and Ralf Schumacher sixth. Damon Hill is seventh.
2 fastest men on the track you're looking at right now. David Coulthard in 3rd place, Heinz-Harald Frentzen in 4th place. We're often talking about the World Championship position between Villeneuve and Schumacher, but you also have to look slightly down, and there's a good scrap for 3rd place between Coulthard and very many people, and not least Frentzen, because they want to be best of the rest. That's the only pieces they can pick up from this season now, and David Coulthard is going to very much enjoy those 4 points towards that little personal battle if he can get them. So Frentzen and Coulthard, the fastest 2 on the track at the moment.
Yes, and you're watching Coulthard now, who's third, preceded by Jarno Trulli and Jacques Villeneuve, and now we're with Heinz-Harald Frentzen fourth, looking at Coulthard ahead. Fifth is Fisichella, who's 6.5 seconds behind Frentzen, who he seems to be catching Coulthard. Sixth is Ralf Schumacher in the Jordan, so both the Jordans are in the top six, fifth and sixth. Damon Hill is seventh, Barrichello is eighth, Michael Schumacher is ninth, and 36 seconds behind Villeneuve. But importantly, Michael Schumacher is only 6 seconds behind his brother, who is the last man in the points. So Michael Schumacher is battling to get back into the points, to get that gap down to the absolute minimum between himself and race leader Jacques Villeneuve, who's on a potential 10 points. Back again with Frentzen, looking at Coulthard ahead. Coulthard third, Frentzen fourth, and Jan Magnussen is 10th ahead of Johnny Herbert.
When you're chasing another driver down, under braking, you always seem to catch him up, because inevitably, of course, he arrives at the corner before you, he brakes before you do, and then he gets on the power at least a car length before you, and the power to weight ratio of the car is so incredible. You always feel he's rushing away from you on the way out of the corners, and it yo-yos around, but it's easier to chase than to be chased.
Well, there's nothing in it between Frentzen and Coulthard, 1/10 of a second on the previous lap. They're both lapping about 1 minute 12, faster than Villeneuve, who's been making his way through traffic, faster than Trulli, who's got the same problem, of course. The two leaders, Villeneuve and Trulli, and now Coulthard and Frentzen, are on their 55th lap out of 71.
Here's another interesting one, Murray, in that Coulthard is catching Trulli at a second per lap, and he's just 4 seconds behind us. Louise has some more information for us in the pits.
Yeah, just popped into the Tyrrell garage to see what had happened to Mika Salo. Broken gearbox, he's out of the race.
So you're watching Villeneuve. He's got ahead of Gerhard Berger, lapped him. Gerhard is 15th. There's the Benetton in the background. Very sad race for Gerhard Berger. It may well be one of his last Grand Prix. We don't know what's going to be happening to him next year. Rumours that he's already signed to do the engine testing for BMW when the BMW firm join Williams in a couple of years' time. That may or not be true, but they couldn't have a better driver than Gerhard Berger if it is true. But you're watching Jacques Villeneuve now, looking commandingly as though he's on his way to his 6th Grand Prix victory of 1997. That is Nakano. Jacques Villeneuve goes into turn 1. You can see the gap, and that there is Giancarlo Fisichella in 5th position. And I think Louise Goodman has got more news for us. Pit lane.
Yeah, that's right. Apparently Alain Prost has just said to one of the French commentators that they didn't get enough fuel into Trulli's car when he came in for that last stop. He's either going to have to stop again for more fuel, or he's going to have to take it very, very steadily when it gets to the closing stages of the race. I'll keep you informed.
Thanks, Louise. Good news. Good information, I mean, because it's going to make things even easier for Jacques Villeneuve, and it's going to mean that potentially David Coulthard will move, well, not potentially, he will move up into 2nd position to give himself 6 points. It could also mean, of course, that everybody else behind them, Frentzen, Fisichella and Ralf Schumacher, move up a place, and that Michael Schumacher himself, who is currently in 9th place, is going to be closer to that elusive minimum 6th position, 1 World Championship point that he wants. You're watching Ralf Schumacher, or you were, there he is, Ralf Schumacher, 6th position. Behind him, and just behind him, about 10 car lengths, Damon Hill is looking for another points finish in the Arrows, and he may well get one.
Well, the two Jordans have kept their noses very clean this afternoon and got both cars in the points at the moment from what has been a very unpromising weekend. Damon Hill, I really expected he would be quite a bit faster than this in the race. He's had a fairly lacklustre afternoon back there in 7th place. Somehow the two Jordans have passed him through the afternoon, and he really should be up there in that point scoring position, but he's not at this time.
Now, David Coulthard, who is 3rd, is catching Trulli, and he doesn't want to do too much of that curb riding, Jarno Trulli. That will have disturbed his rhythm a bit. And Coulthard is catching him at the rate of a second a lap at the present moment. And look, there he is in the background. Jarno Trulli, who's got to come in, we understand, for another stop. He's going to lose his 2nd place shortly.
Well, don't forget the other option was to lean the engine off. He does have a control inside the car where he can lean that engine back and use less fuel and just change gear 500 revs early, all of those kind of things. But they do slow you down. But if your mentality is right, you can still do a very good lap time. What's very easy to do when you're asked to save fuel is actually back off on everything. Your braking point, your turn-in speed, and you really have to focus on, okay, I've got less power available to me, how am I going to get more lap time? But yeah, apparently he's on a position 4 on the fuel, so there'll be full lean, and David Coulthard is just homing in on him at a second a lap. So that's going to be a good fight anytime soon.
Yeah, and look at Frentzen, because Frentzen is just behind Coulthard. The gap between Frentzen that we're with now and Coulthard, that rapidly moving dot ahead of us, is 1.5 seconds. And Frentzen isn't reeling Coulthard in, but he's getting a bit closer. And the order now, lap 58, Villeneuve is out on his own, 6.6 seconds ahead of Trulli, looking sure for another win. Who's going to be third? Your guess is as good as mine. At the moment, it's Coulthard ahead of Frentzen, with Fisichella fifth, catching Frentzen. And he's catching him at the rate of about 0.4 seconds a lap. Everybody's been in and had their stop. Ralf Schumacher is 6th, Damon Hill is 7th, Barrichello is 8th, and Michael Schumacher is sandwiched in 9th place between the two stewards of Magnussen, who is 10th, Barrichello, who is 8th, and Touchwood, no, I'm not going to say it because it's tempting fate. So, lap 59, Frentzen goes through. And here's Berger.
Remember, we spoke earlier in the show about how the world champions of Prost and Jackie Stewart had their cars running 1 and 2. Now we have a situation where Jackie Stewart's cars have chosen the wrong tyre strategy, and Prost's team haven't got enough fuel in the car. So clearly the experience is paying off. And this is Coulthard cruising up behind Trulli getting very untidy across the curve, slightly dramatic.
Bang! That's Nakano. Shinji Nakano's Mugen Honda engine says, that's it, Shinji, I've had enough for one day. And Shinji retaliates by going into the gravel trap and spreading stones all over the corner.
Not to mention the trail of oil he just put right across the racetrack. Where is this? This is into turn 2. So in the traction area on the exit of 2, is a nice pool of whatever oil they choose to use in that car.
Yeah, we don't expect to see Mugen Honda engines go, but that one just let go in the biggest possible way. And Shinji Nakano, who was 14th, has yielded his place to Gerhard Berger. Oh, replay! And that's what David Coulthard had to put up with. Would that have oiled his visor up?
Wouldn't it? That's Trulli's blown.
That's Trulli! My goodness! I don't know whether it's the same. Yeah, there's smoke coming from the engine. What a disastrous race for Prost, for Trulli, for Nakano, and most of all for Mugen Honda. Bad news for them both. Here's a replay. Jarno Trulli leading David Coulthard. Turns in, bang goes the engine. David Coulthard gets a great gout of white, oily smoke in his face. But the benefit is that he goes through into 2nd place ahead of Frentzen.
Yes, he would get some oil on his visor. Look at it coming back now, no different to us on the TV camera, as it were. But he's got the back of his glove or the back of his overalls so that he can clean the visor.
So Michael Schumacher closing up on Rubens Barrichello in the white Stewart Ford. The Arrows #1 world champion Damon Hill is the last man in the points, and it looks to me as though he's going to be taken by Michael Schumacher. He's got Ralf Schumacher in front of him, so we've got a battle here. 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th all together, closing up on Jos Verstappen, the Dutchman in the Tyrrell with the yellow winglets in the front. He's 14th and he's already been lapped twice.
Here's an interesting one, Murray, and Michael Schumacher's in 8th place, but look there in the yellow car, his brother Ralph. Now remember what Villeneuve said to us in the interview yesterday.
Absolutely. Yeah, what Villeneuve did yesterday was he complained, well, not complained, he commented that Michael Schumacher was helped not only by Eddie Irvine, his Ferrari teammate, but by Ralf Schumacher, his brother. So is Ralf Schumacher going to move over and let Michael through, as Michael did in France to let Ralf Schumacher through to get a World Championship point? Now we're with Ralf Schumacher now. He is in 5th position, and Damon Hill behind him is in 6th place. And ahead of Ralf Schumacher as they come up to turn 1. Closing is Jos Verstappen.
Well, Verstappen's on those soft tyres. He's had 2 pit stops already, but that's clearly making him a bit of a thorn in the side because Ralph doesn't appear to get anywhere near to him to pass him. Sure, they can show Verstappen the blue flag, but he's really got to be in the way first, as he is now, and he does move out of the way. So that's important for Ralph. But look at the queue behind, and Michael Schumacher can see 2 World Championship points in his brother's hands just down the road.
Damon Hill has gone past him, and so has Barrichello. So there's Ralf Schumacher 5th. Damon Hill 6th, Barrichello 7th. Michael Schumacher has also got past Verstappen, so the way is clear for Michael Schumacher to attack, and he will need no invitation. The first man he's going to try and take is Rubens Barrichello.
Have a look at this, Murray. David Coulthard just 3.8 seconds behind the leader Villeneuve.
Yes, the producer is understandably concentrating on this terrific battle for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. But all the time, David Coulthard is going faster and faster and closing in on Jacques Villeneuve. This is lap 64 in this 71-lap race. And as you rightly say, Martin, the gap has come down to 3.8 seconds. Schumacher, Hill, Barrichello, Michael Schumacher, Jos Verstappen. News on the Prost situation from Louise Goodman, pit lane.
Yeah, I've just been chatting with some of the Prost technicians. Apparently they've been having a problem all weekend. When the car hits a bump, the engine has a tendency to over-rev. So the assumption is that that's what's just happened to both of their cars.
Yeah, presumably the rear wheels come off the ground and it grossly over-revs. Well, whatever, both Nakano and Trulli are out. And you're watching Heinz-Harald Frentzen, 4th position, pursuing David Coulthard, and he's actually catching Coulthard. There's Coulthard. So Coulthard is catching Villeneuve, the leader. Frentzen, who is 3rd, is catching Coulthard. When into lap 65, the gap between Villeneuve, the leader, and Frentzen, who is in 4th place, is 4.8 seconds. It's getting very, very close.
That's right, Frentzen, fastest man on the track that time round, but the pair of them are just cruising up behind Villeneuve. Another 0.4 of a second out of the leader there, and Coulthard has just got the Benetton between him now. He can smell that Williams exhaust gases, and he must be able to see him in the distance on some of these long rises. He's just got to get that Benetton out of the way and then get back on it again.
Yeah, more points for David Coulthard, who moved up to 5th position as a result of his win in Italy a couple of weeks ago. But Michael Schumacher is still not in the points. He's still got to get past Barrichello. He's still got to get past Damon Hill, and he hasn't got past either of them. His lap times are absolutely identical. So there's Ralf Schumacher, Damon Hill, Rubens Barrichello, Michael Schumacher. Williams leads, McLaren is 2nd, Williams is 3rd, Jordan Fisichella is 4th, another Jordan, both the Jordans into points, and Schumacher goes through. No! I thought he was going to take Rubens Barrichello. There's smoke coming from the back, and Barrichello goes off. And there's smoke coming from the back of the Ferrari. What is happening? Rubens Barrichello's broken his suspension badly.
Well, the Ferrari's been breathing heavily. Remember, I mentioned that on the first couple of laps all race, so he's just got another 5 laps to go. But Barrichello has broken the suspension, lost his front wing, very clearly out of the race down there in that cul-de-sac. Michael put a move on him. Rubens took his eye off the ball, although he still had the corner, he had the racetrack. He was clearly watching Michael too much, ran wide. You can see Michael getting back on the power there with a little plume of smoke, but that's not the real story. Look at the push rod on the front suspension there. Here he goes, look at Rubens. He just runs wide. He just took his eye off the ball momentarily, and there we are.
So Michael Schumacher moves up, but does that plume of smoke mean that there is a V10 Ferrari problem as we see another replay? And that means, sadly, that both the Stewart Fords of Magnussen and Rubens Barrichello there that did so well to qualify 5th and 6th and were doing so well in the race are out of it. But they can all go home with their heads held very high indeed. So now we are on lap 67 and Coulthard is ever closer. There is the leader, Jacques Villeneuve. Coulthard has got the gap down to 2.6 seconds. Look for now we're with him, We're with David Coulthard. And he's got Gerhard Berger, who is way down the field in 11th position. He's already been lapped to get past before he can really attack Jacques Villeneuve. You don't, Martin, at this stage of the race, think that Villeneuve is driving within himself, do you? Well, pacing himself?
We have seen him do this earlier on in the year, where, you know, you only need to be over the line a tenth ahead of the next guy and you've won the race. It doesn't matter if you win by 100 seconds or 1/10 of a second. That's the philosophy. But David is quite easily closing in on him. The reason being that Frenton is pushing David like crazy. So David will be needing to put a pretty smart move on Berger. Berger's a very experienced guy. I think he'll pull out of the way. David's got to get onto his gearbox.
Katayama is holding Villeneuve up. There is 3.2 seconds between Villeneuve, race leader, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who is third. Villeneuve has got past Katayama, who's in 12th position, and now Berger, who is still ahead of Coulthard, is going to try and take Katayama, and he is going to improve his place, obviously, but it's looking bad for David Coulthard now, because Jacques Villeneuve is on his 68th lap. He's just got 3 2.7-mile laps to go at the end of this one. David Coulthard, second there, is potentially on 6 World Championship points, but Williams are certainly going to move ahead of Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship at the end of this race, if Villeneuve finishes first and if Frentzen finishes second. And third, and he may well finish second. Look at the way he's pressing David Coulthard. 10 point... Head off! And somebody goes off. Who was it? Who was it?
I think it was the Tyrrell just running wide, locking a brake on the way in. No, or was it Gerhard Berger? Let's have a look.
Oh, let's
cut
have
back.
a look.
We don't need to see these trees, thank you.
Well, it wasn't Villeneuve. There he was.
Yes, it was Berger. Look, the stones are coming out. He locked his brakes into the last corner, and
there it is. There's Villeneuve going round. There's Katayama.
Yes,
there you're
Berger.
right, it's
yeah,
Berger.
It's Berger, look, running wide. That's good news for Coulthard.
Yeah.
That gives him a clearer run, because Frenton is starting to put him under a lot of pressure, and just 7/10 of a second behind now. Look, David's got to see that, react to that, and not make sure he doesn't follow him off the road. It's too easy to follow the car off the road in that situation.
Terribly easy. Damon Hill went off there, Schumacher went off there in practice. It's a very, very difficult corner. But Jacques Villeneuve is within 2 laps of victory now. He's on his 69th lap. He's only got laps 70 and 71 after this one, as we rejoin Gerhard Berger well down the field. We don't need to be looking at Austria's hero. We need to be looking at Jacques. Thank you very much. Here he is, Jacques Villeneuve, leading the race, coming through to complete his 69th lap, to start the last lap but one, lap 70 out of 71. Now, where is David Coulthard? There he is in the background, but I don't see how even David Coulthard can catch, never mind past Jacques Villeneuve. It's going to be a close run thing, and look at Frentzen, third, right behind Jacques. Are we going to have a Williams 1-2?
Well, yes, Coulthard's not thinking any more about Villeneuve. He's now thinking about Frentzen, that's for sure. You can see how close he was, just 0.4 of a second on that lap, so he took 2/10 out of him. Villeneuve romping away now to this win. He has it in his pocket if he just keeps it on the island. Meanwhile, Michael Schumacher 4/10 behind Damon Hill. Look, there they come into view. He needs to pass him. He's quicker than him. Let's see what the lap times are. Yes, he's taken another fraction of a second out of him. There's that World Championship point he so desperately needs. Otherwise, they're tying going into the Nürburgring next weekend.
Yeah, I mean, this is Damon Hill 6th for the last World Championship point versus Michael Schumacher 7th, and this is lap 70.
There he goes.
And Schumacher
he made it.
Through. Yes, Schumacher. Oh, hard luck, Damon. But Michael Schumacher is back in the points, having lost 30 seconds, and he's still 30 seconds behind the race leader.
Let me tell you, Tom Walkinshaw will not be saying hard luck, Damon. I would think everybody's going to be wondering how on earth Michael made a move from so far back and got away with it. Michael had nothing to lose. He had to go for it. He was going to get no points anyway, so take a risk. Look how far back he is when he starts the move. Where did he get that from? Oh, well, it paid off, and, well, if he wins the championship by a point, he can thank Damon.
And he was right alongside Damon. It was a fair move, a very fair move, and a typically brilliant, forceful, double world champion move as we watch Jacques Villeneuve now. He's on the last lap in Austria. He's got the race in his pocket because he goes round the Gerser curve. He's only got to go round the left-handed Lauda curve, then the one that follows it, the Jochen Rindt curve and the A1 curve. And David Coulthard looks equally secure at the moment for second position. But Williams are going to move ahead in the World Championship, ahead of Ferrari. Jacques Villeneuve is going to be much closer to Michael Schumacher than he was. We've got a really barnstorming finish to the World Championship. And Jacques Villeneuve comes down to the last corner of the last lap at the A1 ring and wins in Austria. That's his 6th win of 1997. Coulthard second, Frentzen is in 3rd position, Williams 1st and 3rd. Fisichella should come home in 4th position very shortly. There he is, crossing the line, ahead of Ralf Schumacher, so both the Jordans will have been in the top 5 places. Ralf Schumacher was some 20 seconds behind Fisichella as we look back to turn 7, and Michael Schumacher took that 6th position, and you can see how close he is to his brother. Ralf finishes 5th, Michael finishes 6th, and the gap in the World Championship as we go into the last 3 races with the Luxembourg Grand Prix at the Nürburgring next Sunday is 1 point. Schumacher leads Villeneuve by 1 point. Heinz-Harald Frentzen moves up to 3rd position. David Coulthard moves up to 4th position. Jean Alesi goes down from 3rd to 5th. And Gerhard Berger stays in 6th position. What a super race.
Well, I enjoyed it. Did you? I thought it was incredible.
Yeah.
Pity David Coulthard didn't have a better grid position. Otherwise, he would have been a major contender for the win. But a strong drive from him. Anyway, a good day for Williams in the constructors, especially a disastrous day for Ferrari. Somehow the brilliance of Michael Schumacher pulled a point out of the bag. But, well, it's all to play for to the end of the season. And it's a good thing for all of us, because here we are moving to the Nürburgring, to Germany. Michael Schumacher's home, of course. He'll have a lot of support there, and Villeneuve would love to put one over on him there, just as Michael Schumacher did back in Canada early in the year when Villeneuve made that terrible mistake. But he drove a great race today. They chose the right strategy. Villeneuve made it stick, did all of the right things, and a well-deserved 10 points.
Yeah, let's remember that Villeneuve won at the Nürburgring last year from Michael Schumacher. An absolutely fabulous battle, not unlike the one here today. But Villeneuve is certainly not a man to be ignored. He's got the scent of the World Championship in his nostrils, and he means to get it. Out of the car, he has to take the steering wheel off to get out, of course. And Jacques Villeneuve has done an absolutely superb day's work. 10 World Championship points from his 6th win of the year. So now he goes in to be weighed on the... Yeah, very happy about that. We'll see who he's talking. He's talking to Craig Pollock, who is his manager. Used to be his school teacher. Great ski man, Craig Pollock. He's the man who is rumoured to be starting a new Grand Prix team of his own. And the question is, would Jacques Villeneuve join him? But whatever. There are the results, and Goodyear are going to be very happy with that. Only one Bridgestone runner in the top 7, and that was Damon Hill, who just missed that 1 World Championship point to add to his World Championship point that he got at Silverstone and the 6th that he got at Hungary. And as I was saying, it's been a great race for Williams. They've not only won and finished 3rd, but they are now 12 points ahead of Williams, ahead of Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship. They started this race 1 point behind. Benetton are still 3rd. They scored no points in this race, but McLaren have moved much closer to Benetton. There's only 9 points in it for 3rd and 4th places. Jordan are still in 5th place, albeit a bit closer to Benetton than they were, and Prost, who scored no points here, are down in 6th position for the Constructors' Championship. Well, I don't know about you, Martin, but I think the A1 ring has given us an absolutely fabulous race. Here is Jacques Villeneuve coming up the steps with his teammate Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and with the man who was in 2nd position, David Coulthard, to take the trophies.
Well, he looks pretty relaxed about it all. It's just another day's work for him, it would appear, but that really was a super performance, and the amount of effort and time that's gone in over the last 4 days to get the car to handle like that has all paid off, and it may look calm on the surface, but underneath they're pedaling away like crazy on the podium procedure.
Where we will hear the national anthem of Canada. Oh, Canada, yet again. And now the national anthem for the winning constructor, the British team. Wolfgang Schüssel, who is the Vice-Chancellor of the Republic of Austria, gives the winning trophy to Jacques Villeneuve.
To the second place
Gonna need a big suitcase to get that one home. And Mrs.
by
Voltraud Klasnik, who is the governor of Styria, where we are, presents the trophy to David Coulthard for finishing in second place, followed by Dr. Walter Melzitsky, who is the president of the OAMTC, the automobile organisation in Austria, gives Heinz Harald Frentzen his trophy.
Dickie Stanford, the team manager.
Dickie Stanford gets his trophy. He's the team manager.
The trophy presented once again by Mrs. Voltraud Klasnik. Congratulations to
and
Williams.
Michael Douglas gives the silver moe
Jacques
to
Villeneuve
Jacques
by
Villeneuve.
Michael Douglas.
He's got a few of those at home.
Jacques Champagne.
Indeed it is champagne time for Jacques Villeneuve, Heinz Harald Frentzen and David Coulthard. David Coulthard second, Heinz Harald Frentzen third. The winner, Jacques Villeneuve from Canada in the Williams Renault. And that's transformed the World Championship situation. Williams ahead of Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship. Michael Schumacher just that 1 point ahead of Villeneuve with 3 races still to go. You want to put some money on it?
Yeah, it's too close to call, really, and Michael just keeps pulling something out of the bag at the end of the day, and he's hanging on by his fingernails, isn't he? But Villeneuve's on a charge. Schumacher's car doesn't look good enough at the moment for me. Villeneuve really has it there for the taking now, because I'm not sure. In the middle of the season, Silverstone, Manicourt time, Michael's car looked very good, very strong. Suddenly he seems to be fighting it through the corners and really not able to get the power on and make the most of it. Why has Eddie Irvine been so close to Michael Schumacher the last couple of races in qualifying? And he's on his back foot. Villeneuve's on a charge. If I had to put my money on it right now, I'd go for Villeneuve.
I think you're right. I said at the beginning of the season it was going to be Villeneuve, but then I changed my mind as Michael Schumacher got on a roll. But I'm inclined to agree with you, particularly as we know the Williams problems that they've had in recent races have been well and truly overcome. Williams won at the Nürburgring last year. Japan should suit them. Jerez we don't know about, but it should favour Ferrari. But the way Williams are going, it's going to be a very, very close run thing.
You've got a feel for Mika Hakkinen, haven't you? Front row grip position, fastest in the warm-up, and an engine failure, or some kind of, he's described as an engine failure. Didn't see too much smoke from it, but parked up before even crossing the start-finish line for the first time.
I was confidently tipping Mika Hakkinen for a win. I was talking to someone who knows, and he said, no way, Murray, Mika never has the luck. Well, he had the luck all right, but it was all bad.
No, it's true. When that McLaren has been ready to win races, it's always David Coulthard that's been able to pick them up, and poor old Mika just can't seem to make it work for him. But let's look down the field. Good job there by Jordan, really. 2 cars, 4th and 5th, and here they are at the press conference.
Jack, well done on your 6th victory, which gives you 10 crucial points. How easy was that for you today?
It wasn't easy because I had a very average start and lost the place to Mika, then truly got me under braking. And then we had a lot of fuel, and somehow we didn't get out of the corners really well compared to the Bridgestone. They took a little bit longer to heat up, and Barrichello got me on the first lap also. Then after 2 or 3 laps, when I got the heat in the tires, I could actually push and be quicker than Barrichello, and it just took my time to overtake him because I didn't want to bang wheels and end up going off the racetrack. It was important to get points today. once I got in front of him, it was just a question of pushing and pushing to get closer to Trulli and try to get him in the pit stop, and that's what happened.
Did you make your pit stop as planned, or did you stay out a bit longer?
No, we had planned to stay out as long as possible, as long as we could run the fuel, and that's what we did today, and it worked out really well, because that's how we got Trulli.
Towards the end of the race, were you worried about David catching you?
Yeah, but because I was stuck behind traffic for a while, behind Gerhard, and I was taking it very easy because I know he's very difficult to lap. I've been trying to lap him in a few races ago, and so I just didn't want to take any risk. And once I knew that David was running fast, then I started pushing. But I knew I could go in the 11s, so you know, I was just pacing my laps on David's.
Jacques, well done. Well, David, you started 10th, so you must be very pleased to be second today.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I thought if I could get 2 points today, that would be a good result. But obviously, the situation with the yellow flag with Michael and also the guys in the pit stop again did a very good job. That got me out in front of Heinz Harald. And now it's just a question of trying to hang on till the end.
Did you think you had a chance of overtaking Jacques towards the end? Because you looked pretty confident for a while.
No, I was pretty sure that he'd be able to respond once I got there. And also in this type of track, it's one thing if you're 2-3 times quicker, but you have to be quite a bit quicker to be able to slipstream someone and pass them. So it would just be a question if I did get that close, whether he'd make a mistake or not. How difficult was it racing here in Austria? Because we haven't been here for a good 10 years. Well, physically, it was a lot easier than I was expecting for 71 laps of this tight track, so that wasn't a problem. Back markers were a big problem. As Jacques already mentioned, I was very surprised. A couple of experienced drivers who know about blue flags weren't prepared to move over, but other than that, it was a fairly straightforward race. Well done, David. Thank you. Heinz Harald, third in Belgium, third in Italy, and third today. Things seem to be going pretty well for you at the moment.
Yes, I can't complain. I mean, I was running pretty well in the race, and I'm quite happy with the third place.
Were you stuck behind Jan Magnussen at the start of the race? Because you seemed to be behind him for a good portion of it.
Yeah, it was difficult to start. The front row didn't start very well, and got stuck behind, and the two stewards came past me on the right and on the left-hand side. It was also difficult to start with such a heavy fuel tank, and they were lighter as well. Lost a couple of places, but then the race was all right. I was catching up again, but I couldn't pass Magnussen, I think it was, and then I was stuck behind Gerhard, and Gerhard didn't get the blue flag at all, and I lost a lot of ground to Michael and to David, and this opportunity, Michael got past me when it was the yellow flag, and I thought, okay, that's probably a bad point for him, but I thought that I could catch up Michael again, because he will have a 10-second penalty. And then David overtook me in the pits, lost one place again, like in Monza, but okay, we will try harder.